Today is Grandma Thelma's Tuesday. She doesn't have a poem this week, but I do. Say hi, Grandma Thelma.
Hiya, Chava. Chava, what is your poem about?
I'll let you know. It's about connections with relatives.
Very good. And that's what I want to talk about, connections with relatives.
Do you feel like you have positive vibes or negative vibes from your family?
Positive vibes.
That's good. Well, I think my poem will be kind of controversial. I feel like there'll be positive times and negative times. Should I read it and we could talk about it?
That would be a wonderful thing.
So hold on one moment. Grandma Thelma's on my phone, so you guys won't be able to see her. Connections with relatives. Connections with relatives can be tough. Sure good, they may be fun 58% of the time. You hope to always hold them tight. Connections can be hard to keep as families think they are better than mine. Do you have siblings? It can be hard to stay as one. Do you have oh Can I start from the beginning, Grandma Thelma?
You can start from the beginning, but I hope you can read your own handwriting.
Oh, it's good. I just have it on my phone. Connections with relatives is the title. Connections with relatives can be tough. Sure good, they may be fun 58% of the time. You hope to always hold them tight. Connections can be hard to keep as families think they're better than mine. Do you have siblings? It can be hard to stay as one. Fell in touch, though we have WhatsApp, iPhones, and all those silly apps. Relatives, some I talk to and some I do not. For good reason, without a thought. Keep those I love close, 110% with my life. A reminder to have connections with relatives. You like it, Grandma Thelma?
It's wonderful. Very nice. It sounds very sincere.
Do you agree with
I'm
it?
not going to ask you which relatives you have a good and which ones you don't, but we'll leave that up in the air.
Oh, that's good. And you know,
I don't want to talk about relatives that are that close. I just want to talk about relatives that I just started to have relationships with.
Ah, so tell us about that, Grandma Thelma.
Well, first of all, my parents came to this country by themselves without their parents. My mother was brought here by a brother, and my father came with an aunt whose husband had come to America before her, and she didn't want to travel alone, and they were afraid my father would be taken into the Tsar's army, so they sent him to America with his Tante Thelma.
His aunt.
And he came here, and they both met each other, and they got married. So I never met my grandparents. My grandparents died in Europe.
From the Holocaust?
Well, they died just before the Holocaust.
That's good.
They were sisters and brothers. That's what I want to talk about today.
Oh, okay.
My father had 4 brothers and 5 brothers and 2 sisters. 3 of his brothers and 1 sister all went to Uruguay, who I had the privilege of going to visit a few years ago.
Wow. Wait, Grandma Thelma, did they ever come to America?
Yes, some of them did. Some of them had big businesses, and they used to do business all over the world, so that they came to the United States.
Wow. Are they still in Uruguay?
Some aren't alive. Some, their children left, and some are still in Uruguay.
Yes.
Then my father had 1 sister and a baby brother. The baby brother was killed in the Holocaust. The sister survived, and she came to Israel with her husband and 2 daughters. And the first time I saw them was in 1973. They came in the late 60s. Then my father had his father's sister and husband went to Israel in the 30s, and they were chalutzim. You know what a chalutz is?
No, what is that?
That's somebody that went to a kibbutz to live.
Oh.
They were pioneers.
Oh, so you have famous relatives in your
I
bloodline.
don't know if they were famous, but anyway. And they built, and then they didn't stay, they worked there, and they built a little cabin before Israel became an independent country. And where their cabin was became Dizengoff Avenue. I don't know if you've ever been to Tel Aviv. You know where Dizengoff Avenue is? That's like the 5th Avenue of Tel Aviv. That's a very fancy street near
The water.
Yeah, and they have very fancy houses there.
Now
Very
they're probably
fancy
worth millions.
stores.
They're probably worth millions of dollars.
Well, anyway, they built a high rise there, and they wanted her land, so that cousin had an apartment. Now, in 1967, my husband went on a trip to Israel. We wanted to go a long time, and we were supposed to go someplace else, and we went to the travel agent, and he said that American Express just posted a very cheap trip to Israel, and you're going to stay at a brand new Hilton in Tel Aviv. That's when the Hilton was first built.
Really? Wait, so
It
you're
was-
one of the first customers of the Hilton? And
No, it was about a year or 2 old, but they were afraid there might be a war, so people weren't going, and the hotel was empty. So I don't remember what we paid, but we paid very little money because of that. And in fact, even though the price was cheap, we went all over in taxis, and there was only about 5 people or 6. We were 2 of us and 2 people from Baltimore, and then another 2 people. I forgot where they were from.
Oh.
And
How long did you stay?
it was a 10-day trip.
Oh,
We
like
had very
birthright.
fancy rooms, and relatives came to play. Then we went to see that cousin Frida, and her son was a professor at Weizmann Institute, and he came to the United States, and we saw him. But then over the years, we lost touch. Now my children started a WhatsApp station for my father's relatives.
Oh,
So first, we got this one cousin who had been in Europe, that was born in Israel, but her parents were in Europe during the Holocaust, and they survived, and they came to Israel.
are they still alive?
The parents are not alive, the children are alive, and there's grandchildren. So she was in Israel. Then we got some other cousins that were the ones who whose parents had come before the war into Israel. So all of a sudden, I asked them if they remembered me, because when my husband came, my father gave me their address, and he says, you have to go visit them. And they were very nice to me, because I had never been to Israel before. I didn't know about changing money or all the other things you have to do when you go to the country. And he took the money, and he got me the best rate of exchange, and they were very nice. And when I asked the daughter, she said she was only 17 at the time, but she remembers when I came, because she said they were all excited because there wasn't too much at that time in the 60s, too many relatives from any place because it was really expensive to travel. And people didn't go. If they went on a trip, they went to Europe. They didn't go to Israel. So, anyway, so she remembered. And then this other cousin, whose parents were there, said he's joining too. So we just got 2 more relatives on the app, and every Friday they sent me a message, Shabbat Shalom. They sent me jokes, and the one in Uruguay had a son, that moved to Panama, and he's in the clothing business, and he makes clothes for Tommy Hilfiger.
Wow! Wait, Grandma Thelma, can you hook us up with some connections? I like Tommy Hilfiger.
No, I can't get any clothes from them.
Why not?
Because I'm not going to Panama to get clothes.
No, you can ask him to ship you clothes. Because I remember talking about relatives. My uncle used to work in the olden days. They had jean factories. And so he used to bring us jean jackets, jean pants, jean everything.
Well, he owns a factory and he has to ship it.
Wait, he
And
owns
when
a
I was
factory?
in Israel, the granddaughter was in New York for Fashion Week because she worked for Tommy Hilfiger.
Grandma Thelma, you have famous relatives?
So anyway, so now everybody is on app, and her brother went to Israel, and he met a girl whose parents came from Russia and lived in Brooklyn, and he got married in Brooklyn, and now he lives in Brooklyn because he married this Russian girl.
Wait, how is he related to you? He's your second cousin?
That's right. His grandfather and my father were brothers.
Oh, then he's your cousin.
That's correct.
Wow, Grandma Thelma, you're so blessed you have famous relatives. Maybe people should like my dad's TikTok or follow Ben Shimon Arts. And then I'll have a famous relative.
Oh, that would be very good.
Yeah, you know, Grandma Thelma, a lot of people love my dad's TikToks. I have to find some more ways to advertise. I was thinking about getting like a t-shirt or something. And I'd advertise also. Oh, and I wanted to say my relatives actually, my grandfather's side, they had, I think, 13 sons or something. You have to ask my dad somewhere, but I have a lot of missing relatives. So missing relatives, if you want to find me, I'm right here. Do you have more missing relatives?
That's what I'm telling you about. I found missing relatives, and this week I got a thing that I have 2 more relatives that somebody's son doesn't know how to do WhatsApp, but his grandson is going to be on it, and so we have 2 more relatives on it, and every month I keep getting 1 or 2 relatives from my father's family.
But that's nice because you know what? Now the events can be bigger and happier. What about your mom's side?
My mom's side is different. We didn't start one yet. They're talking about starting it. I'm not that good on the computer, so I have to wait till my daughter or grandchildren decide to do it, and then I'll have on my mother's side relatives.
Wow. So do you plan on doing a family reunion anytime soon?
I don't know if the people could come from all over the world. They live in so many different places. You heard in Panama,
Where's
Uruguay,
Panama?
in Israel.
But where's Panama? Isn't that in America?
Panama is Central America.
Oh, maybe.
You know where the Panama Canal is?
Yeah.
That's where Panama is, where the canal is.
Wait, so can you hook me up with one of your lost relatives' children?
I don't know if there's anybody that's the right age for you.
Oh, as long as they're in their 20s, well established, and make good money, and caring and sweet. Right, Grandma Thelma?
That's what you need, Chava.
Yes. So let's see, what else? What are, like, do you at least gonna have group family video chats then?
They're only sentences and things, and we'll see what happens. Well, I'll keep you posted on it. I think the 15 minutes are up, Papa.
Oh, yes. So let me say thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. It's actually 19 minutes over. But everyone, we'll see you next week for Grandma Thelma Tuesday. And Grandma Thelma will be giving us 2 holy poems next week. Right, Grandma Thelma?
Well, I'll write a poem for next week. What it'll be about, I don't know. It'll be a surprise.
There you go. Stay Jewish, Grandma Thelma. We love you. Stay happy. And everyone stay positive.